everyone, welcome to I'm Not a Fan Unless I Have a Podcast. I'm John Hanford, and I am back from my road trip. Yellowstone was incredible. Montana was incredible. Salt Lake City had surprisingly good takeout sushi. It was sushi at a really good restaurant, but obviously with COVID times, taken out. So yeah, if you're ever in Salt Lake City, check out Takashi. Some really fresh fish, and yeah, that was delish. Anyway, so I camped on Antelope Island. It's just like right on the Great Salt Lake. It was just gorgeous. I got to float in the Salt Lake. I got to wade into a bunch of different rivers. While I was in Yellowstone, the Gallatin, and then also the Yellowstone River. Got to soak my toes in there for a bit, which was amazing, especially after doing a bunch of different hikes. My toes are getting all swollen and shit, and I could just go in the creek, just soak them, just numb them. The swelling goes right down, and and it's just, who doesn't love a river, right? Anyway, so I'm basically just settling back into reality, and it's not so much settling as it is just like I'm just thrown right back into the chaos of seeing the news and also being 30 and staying with my parents for any given amount of time. It doesn't matter. It's stressful as all hell, and I feel like I'm kind of losing it. So we shall see. I might go stay with friends or something, but in any case, I hope that that's mostly in my head and it's not really coming across too much, especially with this episode that I just recorded. We went all over the place. I was talking with a big time jazz head, Tim. He lives in northern New Jersey, and so he's joining the podcast. He's a music theory major, just about to start college in Pennsylvania, and that's what a time to be starting college. Fucking wild. But anyway, he's studying music theory, and he's a big jazz head. So we had a whole lot of fun, just sort of getting jazzy with our talk. He is clearly just leaps and bounds ahead of me in music theory and in overall jazz knowledge. I think I might have let him down a little bit, but nonetheless, it was just a really fun conversation. And again, from my perspective, just because I am feeling pretty frazzled, it's I hope it's a good listen for y'all. I have not listened back yet, but in any case, it's been like 2 weeks since I've recorded a podcast, and it's a whole rhythm that I gotta get back into, and unfortunately, I didn't feel like I was quite there. So, but I tend to get way in my head. So that's all I'm going to say about it. We do have, by the time this episode's coming out, we're going to have a new Gizz track, which is pretty sick. Some of Us, I believe, is what it's called. There was, that leaked version that was taken down, but I heard it through once. My initial take is, holy fuck, that sounds like something that'll grow on me. Honestly, I can't really make up my mind how I feel about it yet. I'm sure I'll grow to love it, as I've pretty much trusted myself to do with every other new Gizz release ever since I've been a fan. So there's it's cool. I guess I can't wait to hear it. I'm just talking in circles now. I'm stoned. But anyway, we're going to get right into this podcast. So, guys, give it up for Tim.
I'm going to school in Philly. Actually moving in a week from today, which is kind of crazy with like COVID and stuff, but it seems like they have it under control. Very strict regulations, but
I mean, I don't know how seriously I would take that, but I mean, yeah, that's nuts. I've been so like out of it for the last 2 weeks. I've been on a road trip and stuff, and I've I've not been following the news at all. So yeah, that's wild. So you're actually going to go back to class, like?
Yeah, I mean, you have to wear a mask the whole time. And a lot of the classes are going to be like in the room, like online, but a
Mhm.
handful. And I'm studying music technology, so that's going to be like sound recording and like music theory would be like in person, and everything else would be online.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. So music theory is that supposed to be like a one-on-one class type thing, or?
No, it would be like a classroom sort of thing, but um, I guess they have a plan.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it works. I because like right now I'm in Seattle, or in the Seattle area, and I know a lot of, or a few universities here have canceled like the entire fall semester. Um, so I don't know. It's weird. There's like no real uniform decision one way or another. So it's just confusing. But but anyway, let's get into Gizz. At the time of recording, like I guess we're doing this about 12 hours before the before King Gizzard is officially releasing their new track. Uh, like the,
Some of us.
what's that?
Is that what the song is called? Some of us?
Yeah, I think yeah. So I think Some of Us is the title of it. Like there was a version that was leaked online on YouTube. I don't know if you caught that before Flightless took it down.
So
Yeah.
you have any hints for me?
Um. So it sounds like I mean, like it was such a weird sound that I couldn't really take it in properly. Because
Okay.
also, because like you could definitely tell it was not like it wasn't put out by the band. So I figured like maybe it's like just an unreleased thing that somebody's just pulling our leg. But turns out it was just ripped off of a European radio broadcast. So it probably wasn't even the full song, and the audio quality was kind of shitty, so it didn't really count. I was let down, but
Okay.
it's yeah, it's
Well,
probably for the best, because like it wasn't supposed to be out anyway.
yeah.
But I know we were hoping for it to have been released so we could like give it a real proper breakdown, because I think this podcast episode is going to come out at about the same time as that song. So yeah, so this will be sort of real time speculation, only for people to listen to the song immediately, probably beforehand, actually. But
I mean, they threw a bunch of emojis in like the caption for that, and I think there was like it was just such random stuff. There was like a little like virus microbe and like a clock. I don't know, something makes me feel like maybe that could be like this is their like quarantine song,
oh yeah,
because they have all those pictures of them in their like home studios.
I could definitely see that. I mean, huh? I mean, it's also because like I saw somebody make some comment about those emojis being like for the lyrics of the song, which in all honesty, I missed those emojis entirely because I still, adhere to English. But I mean, for my information, I'll use emojis because I'm not, that much of a contrarian asshole. But but like, you can post emojis and I'll be like, all right, that's just open to interpretation then.
Yeah.
Uh, but but yeah, I mean, definitely with Honey, it was. I mean, you would assume that Some of Us is going to be on the same album as Honey,
Yeah.
but the sound is, from what I heard, assuming that what I heard was actually the song. Uh, it was very. It was a pretty hard contrast between that and Honey.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I ultimately don't know what to make of this new album because I've only heard two songs and they're way different from each other. Um,
Like, are
what,
we talking
what
like heavy vibes?
there's a little bit of heaviness, a little bit of funk, kind of, and I've only listened to it once and I forget how it goes already. But but yeah, I remember feeling like kind of some like dark funk type things, and I might be misremembering completely, but uh,
Okay.
yeah. Um, but in any case, so you've seen them once live. How long have you been a fan of King Gizzard?
Almost 2 years. I first found them in November 2018. November 2018. And it's kind of an interesting story because I kind of was like quickly jolted into the like whole universe of King Gizz. I feel
Yeah,
like it was, I went from way different music and then I was suddenly like in the Gizzverse.
that. So
So
what had you been listening to?
I mean, I guess it was sort of still in the like indie sphere, but it was more sort of like bedroom pop, kind of like R&B, like DIY sort of stuff, or like sort of the more like chill contemporary hip hop, like Tyler the Creator, stuff like
Yeah.
that. I really liked the kind of like jazz vibe that a lot of that stuff has, because like really my first music that I got into was jazz. So I feel like that's sort of been the through line that then brought me to Gizz. So anyway, there's this interview with Tyler the Creator where
Hmm.
he is talking about his like favorite albums of the past few years, and he mentions Skip Tracing by Mild High Club. I listened to that album. I love that album because Mild High Club, separate from Gizz, is one of my favorite artists.
Hmm.
And I see they have a collaboration with King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. What is that? So I have to go check that out. Um, I think I don't even listen to sketches first because I like want to get an idea of them on their own before I check out the collaboration.
Oh, that's so. Yeah, I mean that's fascinating, and I love that progression too. So what did you start with before you
So
got
I
to
went to
sketches?
Apple Music, got on the Essentials page because those are generally decent,
Hmm.
and um, I can't remember what was the first thing I listened to, but I know like the 4 or 5 songs that immediately were like the songs I knew by them.
Hmm.
And it was like Hot Wax, Gamma Knife, The River, and the I'm in Your Mind suite.
Yeah,
So like those 4 were like the first 4 songs that I like heard and really liked. And
that's
I
sick.
definitely The River was like, holy, like these guys are good.
Yeah, I mean, especially when because like you probably even heard Hot Wax first because that there's a good chance that that actually has more hits uh, than the River. um, but I'm actually not 100% on that, but at least on Spotify, that is definitely the case. Um, but I mean, and it makes sense that it would be the River if you like, Tyler the Creator, Mild High Club for their jazz sort of sounds.
Yeah. And then when I finally did get into sketches, it was like, that was like, and I still think it's probably one of my favorite albums.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sketches. I've like that one took me a while to get into because I was not at all a jazz guy before getting into Gizz. Um, and like sketches, like I heard it the first time, I was like, this is just kind of, I don't know, it's weird. I appreciate them for doing it, but like, maybe it's just not for me. And then, eventually you listen to it, I'm just like, all right, I should just revisit the stuff that I don't care for that much and just see anything different. And sure enough, I just needed to, like, I guess, give it 3 months off to really kind of start vibing with it. And yeah, I mean, now it's one of my, I mean, definitely one of my go-to albums. It's great for like making coffee in the morning and stuff. And I'm all about that shit.
So I think that was in all like November, and then by like Christmas time, they were like my main interest. Like that was the band I was like listening to a bunch and like talking to about with people. And then by like January, February, they were like my favorite band. And then like Side Boogie came out around that time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
Side Boogie was like first week of January or something.
like a ramping up of like, ooh, I love them, and then like Psy Boogie hit, and then I listened to that, and then I was kind of like, okay, now I like know this band and can kind of like chill until the album comes out.
I mean, not to mention like, 6 months still, or less than 6 months. It's still not a ton of time to really like check out their whole discography and like really know it,
Yeah,
because like I think it might have even taken me about a year to really get into I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. Just because it was like there were a few tracks on Spotify that kept they kept hitting, so there wasn't uh like they would just skip a bunch, and that made it unlistenable for me. But then eventually I bought the record and just got the drop card, so I had the digital download, and I couldn't stop listening to it for like a month.
I'm
But
going full thing with that album right now because I ordered that vinyl from their website, like the Hello merch page on their
yeah.
website. I ordered that like 2 weeks ago now, I think, and it still hasn't come. It got shipped to New Jersey, and then the other day just got shipped back to Texas because it's lost, I think.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hope it's like in one piece when it gets here.
yeah, I mean, usually, like whoever you order it from is usually pretty good about like fixing lost or broken records. But yeah, like I ordered an album from Flightless, Leah Senior. She
Yeah.
did the narration on Murder of the Universe. I ordered her new album, and it took about like it probably took about 6 to or maybe 8 weeks to get here, and it just sat in Los Angeles for like 2.5 weeks, just waiting to I guess waiting to get through customs, or just waiting to get put on the truck after it had already passed customs. But yeah, it was like, because like I would check the tracking every morning, and I was just like, okay, how is this just not moving? But
Well, yeah, I think the Postal Service has bigger problems on its hand right now.
yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, like obviously we love to listen to Leah Senior, but yeah, it's hard when like the head of the Postal Service wants it to not exist anymore. So yeah, fun times await for November and shit. American stuff. Sorry for the international listeners, but anyway, so back to Sketches. What I mean, so like I guess you would know that you knew of it because Mild High Club was collaborating with it. When you finally heard it, what was like? What kind of went through your head?
I think I really liked like Tezeta, Countdown. But my two favorite tracks from that album, I think, have always been The Book and You Can Be Your Silhouette. I don't know, those two songs just get me. For
Yeah,
different reasons, but yeah.
yeah. You Can Be Your Silhouette is like that has one of my favorite lines from any Gizz lyric. It's that line, "You can't sell your gloom to me." Like I was like, oh shit, that's like that just totally hit. Because like I listened to that song and like really got the lyrics for like I really understood the lyrics for the first time a few months ago when I took a mushroom trip and listened to it, and I was like, this is exactly what I needed, because like quarantine had just begun and everybody was panicking, and I was like, I think we're gonna be okay. And
Yeah.
like even though I was more or less wrong, I I think it was still important to go into this whole thing with that mindset of like, all right, don't don't make all your don't invest in your own fear, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's why it resonated with me.
Yeah, I think the album just has like a nice, I mean, I don't think it has an overt storyline, but it definitely has like an emotional curve. Because if you think about it, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, Sketches, that's like, you know, chill elevator music, but there's some like freaky stuff on that album, like planes, trains, and automobile. No, that's not the name.
Yeah, planes, trains, and migraines.
Yeah, and like D-Day and the book. Those songs are stressful. like Microtunnel and like Ding Dong and stuff. It's like, whoa, it kind of freaks me out.
Yeah.
By the time you get to You Can Be Your Silhouette, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. Like I sort of liked that album, you know, and I understand what people mean by saying it's elevator music, because, like, you know, like I said before, I like having that on when I'm making my coffee in the morning. It's just relaxing. But yeah, now that you mention it, like to me, it's always had sort of like this, I guess, just observational look to it, where it's just like, you know, this is you know, like Sketches of Brunswick East is just basically like a synonym to that could just be, you know, our perceptions of just a day in Brunswick East, and, like, you know, here's what goes through my head. So that's sort of what I like, because it's similar to like how I process a day. You know, like I'll be feeling pretty good, kind of anxious, and sometimes kind of terrified, and then at the end of the day, I'm just like, you know, stoned and waiting to go to bed, and it's nice. But so it's still fascinating to me that you know, or like I get that the jazz drew you into Gizz, but would you say that you lost, maybe not lost any of your jazz fandom, but like, did that sort of have to take like a back seat to the rest of the Gizz sounds?
No, I feel like I can process the rest of the Gizz sounds in like a jazz mindset. Like, I feel like I can hear the Mind Fuzz Suite and be like, nice chords. Like, seriously, like, even if it isn't like complicated, it's like I feel like I get the same experience out of listening to that as I do like putting on John Coltrane.
That's wild. I love that, though.
Interesting to me. I don't know.
I mean, okay, yeah. Because like if you put it in the context of like it's just interesting, and generally jazz is what you find most interesting, that makes 100% sense.
Not
Like,
saying it is jazz, but I feel like it all has sort of like a jazz approach to it.
Yeah, I mean, so in a very recent episode, I think it might have been like two episodes ago, I had a very similar conversation where like we basically just all started just like sort of approaching Gizz analysis with like a jazz mindset, and like it was
the time signatures.
I mean, the time signatures, yes, and just like all the polymetric stuff in Polygondwana land and all that, that's also a very jazzy concept. And also, like, it just seems like they do a really good job of just like whatever they're feeling, transcribing that into music, which I think is also incredibly jazzy. Like, you know, because like any of like those eccentricities that you would hear in jazz, you know, with those, like, I guess, unconventional chords, like that's sort of, I don't know, like I feel like that's just sort of an acknowledgement of their own like little bit of anxiety. You know, that's sort of what I think. But it's yeah, and so like I have a feeling like that's sort of what the guys are thinking when they're writing that music too.
Yeah, because I'm sure they all are like, I don't know if they all are, but like I'm sure many of them are like familiar with like jazz and like jazz artists and like steeped in that stuff.
Yeah,
especially like I think the African jazz and Sketches.
Yeah, like Mulatu probably.
Yeah, I think Tezuta takes the scale that the melody is written on is like an actual like Ethiopian pentatonic scale. Yeah.
Yeah, I've like I actually got a little bit into Mulatto Estatke, just totally independent of Gizz actually. Like like I just happened to be at an Ethiopian restaurant with my dad, and they were playing his stuff over the internet, or over the radio and stuff, and uh and like it sounded so cool to me, so I got out the Shazam app, and I was like, all right, let's see what this is. And sure enough, like I looked him up later on, see he's got a whole bunch of different tezatas, and and I was like, okay, I think I understand sketches a little more now. Um, Also, since he has an album called Sketches of Ethiopia, uh, but yeah, his stuff is fantastic.
Yeah, it has a kind of like beautiful eeriness to it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way of describing it. So and one thing that's interesting to me is that like so you're just starting college,
Yeah.
and you're like clearly way more versed in jazz than I probably ever will be.
Okay.
So how did you get into jazz?
Um, when I was in like middle school, I would just like be going to sleep and put the radio on just to like listen to something, because I guess my brain just likes consuming media. um, so for a long time, it would just be like pop music or whatever. But then I would just start wiggling the knob around until I found other stuff. And I found a jazz station, and I would just listen to that. And I did that for a few years. And then after a few years, I started to pick up names that like they would say. And I'd be like, oh, John Coltrane, I hear that name a lot. And I always like his music, or Miles Davis. So then eventually I just looked it up, and then I dove right into the music. And in like middle school and high school, I played trumpet in jazz band. So that was like something where I can be a fan of this and also do it.
Yeah,
And then also playing piano, which is now like my primary instrument. Yeah.
that's sick. That's super cool. I also played trumpet in band, until freshman year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bad band teacher, and that just kind of ruined the experience. But then I later joined. Let's see, I didn't join jazz band, but I joined the musical section on guitar for this musical production of I forget it was called Anything Goes, that musical.
Yeah, I've been
yeah.
in there, dude.
Yeah, so I was on guitar for that for a couple weeks, and then they decided to get rid of the rhythm section. So, which was, in all fairness, the right move, because like I was not going to learn all those guitar parts. It was because I remember like the jazz guitar on that was just so foreign to me. I just couldn't grasp it. But no, that's cool, because like I've only recently, or like I guess in the last year or two, gotten like really started listening to like a little bit of jazz, and I'm just kind of like, where is this? Like, why am I only just now coming around to it? Like I wish I had.
What are you getting into?
Well, let's see. Like I guess when it comes to like outright jazz, like I've been listening to like Charles Bradley, his backing band, the Minahan Street Band.
I think I know them.
Yeah, I mean, because like a lot of this, I'm just sort of discovering through basically through an extension of Gizz, really.
Yeah.
Like some of them are, because like Charles Bradley was featured on KEXP, and his backing band, I was like, whoa, they were just so cool. Like they had a whole horn section and everything. And also I looked into them, and I was like, I realized that I used to live in the same neighborhood that they lived in Brooklyn, in New York. So it was it was just cool. It was like a whole bunch of synchronicity just in shit that happened in my life, that I was like, this is somehow that's related to what I'm talking about. Anyway, sorry, I go off on these tangents and I forget how I got there. But yeah, so with jazz, I've also been listening to like Saint Germain, the French guy. Which I guess is more like pop dance jazz than actual jazz, but it's
I mean, yeah, when I say jazz, I mostly mean like hard bop, like 50s, 60s, and then
yeah,
like
like
stuff.
yeah,
If you like Gizz, you should listen to Chick Corea.
Chick Corea.
Chick, like Chick, Korea with a C.
Oh, okay.
He has this band called Return to Forever. They were around in the 70s, and they were like sort of they started off as more like a straight ahead kind of like Latin jazz band, like kind of like Santana, but more keyboard oriented. And then by the mid to late 70s, like 1976, they were kind of like a like crazy jazz fusion prog rock band.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
Started as
yeah.
like straight ahead like bebop pianist.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna check that out. I mean that sounds like such a cool, just like a natural progression, really.
Yeah. And he's
yeah.
still making interesting stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, you know, another jazz artist that I have been listening to, or that like became one of my favorites a couple of years ago. She kind of got me into like exploring jazz a little more. Is this British trumpet player, Yaz Ahmed?
Yeah, I listen to her.
You listen to her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's I mean, she's just tremendous, and like she's barely known in the States because from what I gather, she hasn't been able to afford a visa to play here, and the only way I heard of her is that one of my friends he went traveling up to Iceland, and when she was up there, she went to a record shop and they were playing Yaz Ahmed, and she asked, hey, who is this? Because it's awesome, and they looked it up, and sure enough, Yaz Ahmed. So she started. So my friend, she texted me. She was like, "Hey, check this out. Like, this might help you get into sketches a little more, since like we had also had that discussion about sketches being somewhat inaccessible to me." Yeah, so pretty much, yeah, I guess I could kind of attribute my love for sketches to Yaz Ahmed opening me up to that.
I feel like she has some microtonal stuff too.
Yeah,
or at least Middle Eastern influence, because she's from that area, I believe.
Yeah, I think she's from the UAE or no. I think Bahrain, which
right.
is which is also right around there, or like that's her lineage. She's from the UK, but yeah, like she's got that quartet that she plays with. It's got like the bassoon and a whole bunch of I mean, just like she's got a really interesting way of arranging things that I just love. But yeah, so back to Gizz, because that's what this podcast sort of is. It's fun to talk about all the other stuff, but primarily Gizz. So you got to see them in Philadelphia last year. So that was, I think that was like the day after their New York show. Yeah, which I was lucky enough to go to. But I think the Philly, like I remember looking at the set list from the Philly show and being like, fuck, I wish I could have hit that as well.
Yeah, there was some. I mean, we got Mind Fuzz, Sweet, Into Balrog, like, because you know how Balrog starts with that like Mind Fuzz.
Yeah.
Into Balrog. There was Side Boogie. They did Side Boogie like at every show last tour, right?
They at a lot of them. I saw it 2 times out of the 3 times that I saw them.
You got Great Chain of Being, I remember, because I don't think I had really like, I mean, I knew about the song, but I hadn't like given it a full listen. And like listening to that, I was just like, oh, this song is kind of scary. Like, I see where this started. What else was there? Was
I mean, like, obviously they played stuff right off of Infest the Rat's Nest, because that had
that's what they started with.
Yeah. Yeah, they seem to consistently start with that and then throw like another song or two at the end of the set. Um, but like from the times that I saw them. But I think in Philly, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they close with Head on Pill?
No, no, I
Never
wouldn't
mind.
get close with that. I wish.
Yeah, because like I saw them, they were closing like maybe a third of the shows with that last year, and I was really pissed that I missed it every time that like I've still never seen Head on Pill live, and that's I don't know if it's my favorite Gizz song, but it's the one I want to see the most live because it's like they always do a whole bunch of weird shit with it. Yeah,
Yeah, they basically, is it that or Am I in Heaven? I think it's that. Yeah, on the last live one, they play they play a bunch of other songs in the jam for it.
yeah, yeah, and like they're pretty good about doing that with like I guess with Am I in Heaven and also I mean obviously Head on Pill, um, but they also I think closed some shows with The River, and what's
Yeah.
cool with and like I've never seen them close a show with The River, but what is cool is when they I don't know if they just started doing this on the last tour, but when they threw Wah Wah into the middle of The River,
Mhm.
or like and then I guess they would just sort of kind of duke it out between The River and Wah Wah going forward until it ultimately goes into Road Train. Um,
Yeah.
it's um, yeah, that was just such a cool thing to see because like it goes back into that whole like the fluidity of jazz, um, which I think kind of goes to your point of how that's kind of how they approach uh, all their albums, like just in how they kind of all the songs like flow into each other.
I think that's definitely something. I feel like transitions are something I personally appreciate in music, like being able to move from one section to another and having it be interesting.
Hmm.
So that's an aspect that really draws me to their music.
Yeah, something I did today. Like I went for a hike earlier with my dog, but on the drive up there, we like I just had Flying Microtonal Banana on, and I decided like I was going to listen to it not in order, but I was going to rearrange the songs in a way that was like still good, without putting it on shuffle and risking it sounding terrible. And it was pretty wild. I actually found that uh, going straight from Venusian 2 into Doom City was really solid. Like,
That's cool. I
yeah.
love City. That was at my concert.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
And it was like, it's like on the album, it's sort of like, it's like a little angsty, like it's not sure if it wants to be metal, but when they pulled it out here, it was like for those like big breakdowns, it was like,
Yeah,
well, it was like borderline doom metal, it felt like.
definitely. I mean, like the intro to that reminds me a lot of the Melvins, which are, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they were uh, they're like I guess like a real grime sludge kind of metal sound. Like they were huge influences of Kurt Cobain and Nirvana.
Mhm.
Like, but they started in the '80s and they're still touring. I saw them play a few years ago, and yeah, it was intense and basically just really sludgy and slow like that. Um, but I absolutely love the live version of Doom City, because they really emphasize the tempo changes and yeah,
Yeah.
and so like yeah, it definitely sounds a lot like doomier, live, but when in the fast part that just sounds like I don't know, just like really fun and just wacky.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a very great contrast from like weird bouncy funk to doom metal.
Yeah, but and
I
I guess
looks
it's
like
like
maybe Cookie wrote that part and then like Stu and Cavs wrote the other part.
yeah, I mean could very well be, um but yeah, I like also one thing that the Cookie really adds to the microtonal stuff, like just if you notice from watching them at the show, he's basically just on the wah-wah pedal like the full time, just just like adding like all the I guess accentuations and stuff, and just different accents to the to all all the songs to just make it kind of whimsical like that. Yeah, I love that. I'm really hoping that on this new album he gets at least one song, because like his songs are some of my favorite, because they're just so weird and interesting, and like
I know Down the Sink is his. What's another song?
So he also did why am I blanking? Time Equals Fate on Paper Mache Dream Balloon. And let's see, Pop in My Step on Float Along, Fill Your Lungs.
Really not that many.
Yeah, like he's gotten maybe one or two, like two max on any album. Actually, I guess he wrote Barefoot Desert along with Ambrose and Stu. And I think he sings on that song as well, but I know it's mostly Ambrose. Although sometimes it's hard for me to tell between the two of them.
That's one thing that I've been doing a lot, I feel like, recently when I listen to Gizz, is really think about what instruments am I hearing, and like who is that and what are the different roles. Because I feel like when you're in a band that's like 7 people, it can be overwhelming and like, well, what are all these parts? Like, what am I listening to? But it's fun to like really break down, oh, so that's like Stu's part, that's Joey's part, and then they're singing this. Like, their arranging is very complex.
Yeah. I mean, especially to see how they arrange it, like actual visual of it on just like in their recording software. Occasionally they'll post to their Instagram accounts or something, and I'm just like, shit, they have all the time signatures mapped out, and like everything is so, I mean, it's super complex. I mean, like, I'm a musician, but like I like actually playing the stuff, and the rest is just, it's hard for me to like settle down and just like focus on the rest of it, focus on the actual like editing and shit. But but yeah, like what is cool about Gizz is like there was an article in Guitar World came out last week that was like, it was just an interview with Stu, and he was talking about how like Gizz was supposed to be just an extremely loose project, which I think really enabled them to like add their own little like flair on each of the songs, just like in the arrangements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like how the band really seems like a communal creativity pot for everybody, basically.
Yeah, like it would be weird to think of them saying no to anybody's idea.
Yeah.
Unless it was like a group felt thing, like this isn't feeling right, But yeah, so it's, like you mentioned, you mostly focus on piano and trumpet. Do you also like are you a multi-instrumentalist beyond that, or
I know like how to play guitar chords, and I can like learn little parts, but I'm not like proficient or like have technique, but I know I can learn things. It just takes me a long time.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And then like bass, same thing, but I'll pull them out because I like to just like make like recordings and like demos and stuff, so I can like play the stuff that I write, but I don't know if I can learn anything else.
I gotcha. I think like, I mean, you seem pretty proficient in music theory as it is. Would you say that's accurate?
That's a piano thing mostly.
Right.
Yeah.
I like because like I used to take piano lessons when I was like 10 through 12, because like my parents wanted me to learn music theory, and it just wasn't going to happen. But
for a long time for me, it was like a thing that I just kind of went to because I always had, and it was like, yeah, I take piano lessons. But then just like mid high school out, it was just like the floodgates opened, and I was just like, oh, this is really interesting.
Yeah, that's, I mean, because like it totally is interesting, and I've always been fascinated by it. because like my guitar teacher was like, even though we mostly just worked on like teaching me like Iron Maiden songs, it was like he still tried to interject with music theory because he was a classical player himself, and um and like some of the stuff did rub off onto me, and it was interesting to me just how like if you do know music theory, how easy it probably would be just to like I guess plug it into however uh basically to, what am I trying to say, like um like just when you have an actual guitar neck or a bass neck in your case, like using that as like your relative scale to the actual theory. I'm not making any sense with this. So sorry if I'm just going on and like this sucks, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it's cool because like it's a different perspective than the linear
Yeah, it's definitely
of a
easy
piano.
to visualize on the piano. So that's a point that you can give to the guitarists.
Yeah, I like to think so. But shit, I just totally threw myself off there trying way too hard with the music theory. So what do you see yourself doing with music? Like is it like are you aiming to go into like being a teacher or something, or is this
I mean, I'm majoring in music technology, so I'm hoping to do like sound recording, engineering, and like live sort of sound stuff.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason I feel like I want to do this is because I'm like personally interested in it, and like because I like like theory and like songwriting. I want to like be able to like capture these ideas and stuff. So then it's like, okay, so then I'll do that as a career so I can be good at this stuff.
Yeah.
Basically.
No, that's awesome. So like so basically so did you watch Chunky Shrapnel?
Yeah.
So basically you're kind of going for like what Sam is, their sound man.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be fun.
That'd be
Yeah.
pretty sick to replace him, huh? Like
I am. That would be sick. But any touring band, unless they weren't good, but whatever. But yeah, I feel like it just like, in the next couple of summers, I feel like I'll just go on the internet and see like where to be a roadie and just like learn that stuff.
yeah, I mean it's definitely it seems like if you can land with a band that's like really into working with their sound guy, like that'd be super cool.
Yeah, and then yeah, I totally forgot what I was about to say. But
Yeah, welcome to the club. Yeah, it's gotta love having like just like an ADD brain. It's a real blessing sometimes. But but yeah. So back to back to like consuming the Gizz albums. Like you mentioned that you had heard of Great Chain of Being, like when Gumboot came out, or I guess not when Gumboot came out, but like, well, okay, so you know how you said you started getting into Gizz like November 2018.
yes.
You're basically 1 year behind me because like I started November 2017, and then
Yeah.
a month later Gumboot came out, and I was like, what the hell is this? Because like I've been listening to like Polygodwanaland, Flying Microtonal Banana, like all the other stuff, and then I just wasn't really sure what to make of Gumboot.
Yeah.
So and then you're just like, didn't quite know what to make of Great Chain. Like how much time have you spent with Gumboot, or like when did you in your timeline of getting into Gizz check it out for the first time?
I feel like I had definitely listened to it like multiple times, and it was always like enjoyable. And there were a few songs that would definitely stick out, like Beginner's Luck is a song that always stuck out. because it was like the first one, so I would remember it, and it's very catchy.
Yeah.
So that's a song that I like knew. But then I feel like I'd heard all the songs, and then really over the past few months, whenever I put that album back on, I'll listen to it and I'll be like, whoa, this is really kind of like a interesting montage of different sounds and ideas. And I kind of feel like it's like their Beatles album,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like the way that the Beatles made their albums, where it all was sort of sonically similar, but there was no, like something like Revolver, like the White Album, they're not
Yeah.
like super like thematic in the way that Gizz records are thematic. So I feel like that's why that gives me that vibes, and so I really appreciate it for that, because they're it's just like a collection of not really pop songs but standalone good songs.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good comparison. I would definitely, like, I do kind of get a White Album feel, from Gumbo, or like maybe not that avant-garde, but like but it's like sort of in that gray area between the White Album and Revolver.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I definitely see what you're saying with that. Um, that is kind of interesting too, because like you do get like that is such a good sampler of Gizz. Like that's usually the album that I'll tell people to start with if they're like, yeah, what do they sound like? I'm just like, just listen to this, and whatever they sound like to you, that's your answer. But yeah, that's cool. I like that. And so I guess we're going to wrap this up pretty soon.
Okay.
But is there anything that's been on your mind that's Gizz related that we haven't discussed yet? I know this has been pretty all over the place. This has been a pretty chaotic jazz episode.
um yeah, I don't know, I guess I'm just interested to see what happens tomorrow. It should be exciting. I hope I mean, I know it seems like a lot of things are being teased about, like time or timeland being a concept.
Yeah.
That's the name of the album, Timeland. So I don't know if
Oh,
that's a new piece of the Gizverse that we're gonna get into, some kind of time travel storyline.
shit. I mean, that would be cool. I'm because like now I'm kind of thinking,
Polyrhythms in their music.
yeah. I mean,
From
we
to beat 3.
yeah. I think I mean, it's funny that we were just talking about the Beatles, because like, now you're mentioning a time concept with this new album potentially. It has me thinking of like the Sea of Time, part of the Yellow Submarine movie and
And I
soundtrack.
tried to watch that movie a few weeks ago. It's not streaming anywhere. You have to
Oh,
order the DVD. I was so upset.
it's not streaming on Prime anymore.
Not that I could find now.
Damn. Yeah, I remember I watched it last time. I guess like 2 years ago, actually. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was great. Like it was streaming on Prime, but yeah, damn, that sucks. It's not, or it might not be anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to find it eventually, but I gave up on that night because it was frustrating.
Yeah, but I do like that idea though. If in fact they are going to incorporate this timeland thing into, or Sea of Time or whatever, into the Gizverse, because then that would be a perfect portal into like into the Beatles.
Yeah.
I mean, considering Gizz already has the Sea of Trees, why not give the Beatles another sea? All right, I'm just being ridiculous now, but Tim, thanks you so much for coming on the podcast, and like really showing me up on my jazz knowledge.
Man, I wish you luck in your journey.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check out Chick Corea though, because that sounds awesome. Cool, man. Anyway, and enjoy enjoy the last little bit of summer before you head off to music school. So,
stay safe, man.
all right, you too. Take it easy.